Welcome, everyone, to the Daily Kentucky. Today is Wednesday, September 25th. You're watching Unsafe Space. My name is Carter Laren, and I'm joined, as always, by the bad, and today bad mood, Mama Jamma, Keri Smith. Hi, Keri.
Good morning, Carter.
Just for clarity, she's not mad at me in particular.
Oh.
She's just having a bad day.
I'm just having a bad day. There's not enough time in the day. I got to get my passport renewed. It's expired. I only have 30 days to do it, but I didn't have time. I was supposed to do that, but then the incontinent dog peed the bed and I had to take the comforter to the laundromat because it doesn't fit in the washer. And then I had to leave it there because it's still not dry. And I have to leave it there while I go to work, I guess. It's just there's not enough hours.
There are not enough hours in the day. Well,
I just sound like a whiner.
Yeah, no, you're definitely in a whiny mood today, but that's okay. We all have our days.
Everybody has their days. I know. Another day I would look at this tape and be like, what a whiner, what a complainer. But today I feel like whining.
You often go into mood and then later the next day criticize yourself for the mood that you were in the day before. Yeah. That happens frequently. So maybe I'll ask you to watch it again tomorrow. You can see. It's okay to be whiny. Well, today, fortunately for you, we're talking about a subject that I just know you're super excited about, which is politics and the Ukraine.
Oh, this sounds like something I can zone out during.
Yeah. You want to slit your wrists now, or do you want to wait for us to get into the details?
This sounds so boring, but please tell me what's happening.
It is kind of boring. I'm sorry. It's boring. And I don't like talking about politics, but it's like in the news. I don't know if you know, like Nancy Pelosi said they're starting a formal impeachment investigation. There's no such thing, but whatever. They're investigating impeachment. And I think it's possible that the president will be impeached. I don't think there's any chance in hell that he would be convicted by the Senate, but it's possible that the Congress would. Yeah. So the way it works, House of Representatives has to basically they do an investigation. They need like a simple majority to just say, oh, we think you should investigate the president and possibly remove him for office. That's the impeachment process. But then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate has to vote 2/3 majority to actually remove him for office. So the second half of that is not going to happen unless there's some other bombshell that we're not seeing. The first part of that, the impeachment process starting from Democrats, which are controlled by from the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Democrats. Yeah, that might happen. Probably be good for them. They probably view it as politically advantageous for the upcoming 2020 election. But Keri, this is all about a phone call that Trump had to the president of the Ukraine in July, which I know is super interesting to you in particular, because you're always very excited about international politics and transcripts of phone calls. But apparently what happened is, just to get you up to speed, apparently what happened is a, quote, whistleblower in somewhere in the intelligence community, we think. It's not really, we don't know who the person is. They didn't have firsthand knowledge of the phone call, but they I guess, brought up to the Inspector General, hey, of Intelligence, hey, there's a concern here. He sent the complaint to the Department of Justice and to the FBI. The FBI said, we're not going to investigate it. We'll defer to the Department of Justice. We don't care. The Department of Justice investigated it and said there was no, the main concern was whether there was a campaign finance law violation. They said, no. The criminal division of the Justice Department looked at it and said, no, nothing here. However, now obviously the news got a hold of this and the mainstream media is going crazy, and the quote transcript has come out. And I just, I think the best way to talk about this is just really briefly, it's a short transcript. We can walk through it and briefly talk about what the backstory is of each thing and why it matters. And then we can talk a little bit about how the mainstream media is treating this. So here's the transcript, Keri. Try not to fall asleep.
I actually like looking at transcripts. That part's not a joke.
Oh, great.
I don't care about this story as a whole, but let's look at the transcript.
All right. So you'll be excited about it. So this is the transcript from July 25th. Now, just to be clear, this might make you sad, Keri. It's not actually a transcript. A memorandum of a telephone conversation is not a verbatim transcript of a discussion. The text in this document records the notes and recollections of the Situation Room duty officers. So I think they do use some voice detection software, so parts of it might be verbatim, but it's not guaranteed to be verbatim. So we're not going to read the whole thing, but it is pretty short. So the president starts off congratulating this guy on his victory, Zelenskyy. So Zelenskyy ran again. I mentioned this the other day. He ran on an anti-corruption platform. So congratulations. He says it's a fantastic achievement. Zelenskyy basically says, thanks. We worked hard for it. We learned from your campaign, and we should talk more. Trump's like, yeah, we should. Great. Thanks. Okay. And then he says, to tell you the truth, we're trying hard. This is the Zelenskyy saying this. We're trying hard because we wanted to drain the swamp here in our country. So he's using Trump's language, right? We brought in new people. And so then Trump says, it's nice of you to say that. He gave him a compliment. You're a teacher for that, he said to Trump. So Trump says, that's nice of you to say. We spent a lot of time. And so then Trump says, hey, U.S. does a lot for Ukraine. We do a lot more than other European countries.
Oh, that's funny. I'm reading it right now on your screen. It says, Germany does almost nothing for you.
Yeah, right? So he says, Germany does almost nothing. He throws Angela Merkel under the bus and says, you should really look into that. You should see that everyone pays their fair share. Now, just some background here. There was $250 million, and I think even more possibly allocated to military aid for the Ukrainians that Trump, basically, he's not withholding the aid, but he did slow it down. He basically said, this is a while ago, Trump wants to ensure that U.S. interests are being prioritized when it comes to foreign assistance. So he asked that people internally review the aid, and he wanted to make sure that other countries are paying their fair share. So this has been a focus of Trump. Generally, he's said this several times. He doesn't like that the European Union pays less, and the countries in the European Union pay a lot less in a lot of foreign aid in general than the U.S. does, specifically with respect to Ukraine. So he asked some people internally to review the military aid before it was released to the Ukraine. So that's the context of this. So, okay, so then he says, yeah, like you said, Germany's done nothing for you, blah, blah, blah. A lot of European countries are the same as Germany, so you might want to look into this. But the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. And this is a sentence that gets the Democrats excited. He says, I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily, because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. So he's saying, hey, we're helping you out, but it's not always reciprocal. Lots of things are happening that are very, very good for the Ukraine. So Zelenskyy says, yeah, you're right. You're actually not only 100% right, you're 1,000% right. And I can tell you, I did talk to Angela Merkel, and I did meet with her, and blah, blah, blah. So I met with Macron, so he talks about France. They're not doing what the U.S. is doing. They're not enforcing sanctions with respect to Russia, blah, blah, blah. Some more backstory here, just in case people are not paying attention at all. Can you guys please investigate this stuff? Look at CrowdStrike. He says, you're wealthy people, ... We don't know what that is, but it may very well be this Ukrainian oligarch. Ukraine is like at war with Russia, like they're fighting. So Ukraine, Russia, not friends. So he's complaining that the other European countries not really doing much about sanctions, Russian sanctions. So he says, this Ukrainian president says, at the end of this is where it starts to get interesting. He says, look, I'm very grateful to you. The United States is doing quite a lot for Ukraine, much more than the European Union, especially when we're talking about sanctions against Russian Federation. I would also like to thank you for your great support in the area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next steps. Specifically, we're almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. So he's saying, hey, we might actually, place an order for some more equipment from you. We're almost ready. Thank you. All right. Thank you for your support. So now I'll start reading this verbatim now, because now the president says, I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. By the way, some of this is a little bit jumbled, but he says, I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. I guess you have one of your wealthy people, the server. They say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with this is right after the Robert Mueller stuff ended. He says, as you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance, but they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible. So, Keri, what's going on here is, it's a little bit complicated, but this whole Mueller investigation stuff, right? Ukraine, there's suspicions that there's some Ukrainian connections with some of the stuff that happened, and Trump really still wants to get the bottom of it because, we had the whole Russia thing, CNN yelling Russia for 2 years. We had the whole Russian investigation, and it turns out that the charges of all of this collusion for election interference were false. Like, that didn't happen. There's arguments about whether he obstructed justice and with respect to the investigation we've talked about in the past, but the basic story didn't happen. There was not evidence there. And so now Trump is asking the legitimate question, which is like, well, how did this crap start? What the hell's going on? How did this whole start? And there is a lot of connection to Ukrainian oligarchs in some of this stuff. Specifically, do you remember when the DNC servers were hacked? Remember I said the other day that we actually never got to see the servers? The FBI never saw the servers?
Yes, I know that.
DNC hired 3 outside security firms to look at this. The main one is CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is founded by a guy who is part of an anti-Russian think tank funded by a Ukrainian oligarch. Okay? So there's a little bit of weirdness there. CrowdStrike determined, it was the Russians that hacked it. All right? So there's someone with like already a political agenda that's anti-Russian running a company that determines that, look at that, the Russians hacked the server, then the server disappears. The FBI never gets to see the server. No one's ever seen the server. So the question now is, this is one prong of Ukrainian connections, but there's a lot of weirdness here, and Trump is rightly wondering, hey, I didn't use, if I'm innocent of Russian collusion, right, for the election, well, someone's guilty of manufacturing this whole story. What the hell's going on? There's something's happening with all of this. So shouldn't we continue to investigate? Why did this happen? And so that's what Trump's that's his concern. And if you'll notice, he hasn't mentioned anyone at this point, but he said the Attorney General, right? And although the Attorney General actually there was never any follow-up with the Attorney General here by Trump or the Ukrainian president, as far as we know. According to the Attorney General, he said that. But so Trump said, hey, look, he's clearly referencing the origins of the Mueller investigation or the origins of the Trump-Russia collusion story. And he's saying, can you investigate this? Because something's going on. There's something going on between members of either the U.S. Intelligence Committee or the Democrats or both and some Ukraine, not obviously, but possibly. Can you investigate this? And again, this guy ran on anti-corruption stuff. This is his platform. So the president of Ukraine says back to him, yes, it's very important for me, everything you just mentioned earlier. So he's saying, yeah, I do want to investigate what's going on with these Ukrainian oligarchs potentially having ties to influential U.S. politicians. It's very important because, remember, he ran on an anti-corruption campaign. We're ready to open a new page on cooperation and relations between the United States and Ukraine. For that purpose, I just recalled our ambassador from the U.S. He'll be replaced by a very competent and very experienced ambassador, and we'll work hard. I'd like and hope to see him having your trust and confidence and have personal relations with you so we can cooperate even more so. So he's saying, hey, I'm sending an ambassador. I'd like to have a strong personal relationship with you. And in that line, it's the president of the Ukraine, it's Zelenskyy, who says, I will personally tell you, he brings up Giuliani. I will personally tell you that one of my assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani just recently, and we're hoping to very much that Mr. Giuliani will be able to travel to Ukraine, and we'll meet once he comes to Ukraine. So he's saying, obviously, I'd like to have a tighter relationship. I'd like to have a personal relationship. And I met with your friend/lawyer or I'd like to meet with your friend such Lord Giuliani, and we have spoken to him. Okay, this is not in the context of Biden investigations or anything, right? This is not in the context of that. It's just want to talk to your attorney. I wanted to assure you once again, you have nobody but friends around us. So he's saying we're friends. Make sure to surround myself with the best people, blah, blah, blah. We are friends. We're great friends. And you, Mr. President, have friends in our country. I plan to surround myself with great people. In addition to that investigation, I guarantee, as the president of Ukraine, that all the investigations will be done openly and candidly. So that's good. So, hey, I'll do an investigation, and we'll do it openly and candidly. He knows that he's got a corruption problem. That's what he ran on. He knows that Ukrainian oligarchs are involved. He knows there's potential ties to the U.S., and so he's saying, I'll investigate openly and candidly. So Trump responds, good, because I heard you had a prosecutor who was very, very good, and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that, the way they shut your very good prosecutor down, and you had some very bad people involved. So what he's talking about, presumably, is the prosecutor that Biden asked the Ukraine to fire in exchange for aid to the Ukraine. And Biden has bragged about this, so this is not unknown. Now, I don't know that he was a good prosecutor. Certainly there's been reports that a lot of people wanted this prosecutor gone. He was possibly corrupt, not sure, or at least accused of it, to do that. And then he switches and says, well, Mr. Giuliani, who, again, the president of the Ukraine brought up, Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He's the mayor of New York, great mayor, blah, blah, blah. So he's now talking about Giuliani. It's not really, he's not saying Giuliani is related to this investigation. He's just, the president of the Ukraine had brought up Giuliani, saying, I want a personal relationship. So now Trump is switching and talking about Giuliani. He's a great guy, basically. I'll ask him to give you a call, along with the attorney general, because he wants the attorney general to call on this other topic, right? Rudy very much knows what's happening. He's a very great, capable guy. If you could speak to him, that'd be great. So he's talking about Giuliani. The former ambassador to the U.S., the woman was bad, so he complains about the former ambassador. But then he brings up Biden. This is the part that everyone is concerned about. So he says, I didn't like the former ambassador. He says, the other thing is there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the attorney general, that would be great. He's not saying do anything with Giuliani. He's saying if you can do something with the attorney general there and figuring out what happened. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. Okay, so look, Biden has gone around bragging that he got a prosecutor. He forced the prosecutor to get fired in Ukraine. That prosecutor was investigating a company in the Ukraine that his son was on the board of. That investigation went away when the prosecutor was fired. That's true. Now, Biden hasn't been saying, hey, I'm bragging that I got the case dropped, but he has been saying, hey, I got the prosecutor fired. Now, there was a lot of people who wanted the prosecutor fired. I said this the other day. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but Trump is saying, hey, can you potentially look into this? And then, the president of the Ukraine says, yeah, I'm knowledgeable about the situation. I'm going to put in non-corrupt prosecutors that are on our side, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get rid of that ambassador you don't like. Trump says back, okay, she's going through some things, fine. And now he's kind of almost summing up the call. He's like, hey, I'll have Giuliani call you, and I'm also going to have Attorney General Barr call you, right? Because to get to the bottom of it. Because the guy brought up Giuliani earlier, and Trump is saying, hey, I'll have those people call you, because obviously Trump can tell them to do that. So, I have many Ukrainian friends. I also have friends, blah, blah, blah. He brings up Biden a couple other times, but really only in the context of, hey, I'll have, or not Biden, Giuliani. Hey, I'll have Giuliani and the Attorney General call you, right? So that's kind of the big reveal, Keri. That's the big transcript. I know I just talked for a while. I'm going to stop and let you comment. That's the big transcript.
I don't have anything to say. I don't really.
Well, does it look like a problem for you?
No, I don't care.
Okay, but actually, no. I'm almost glad you don't care. It would be better to have a more dynamic conversation. But I think your sentiments express what is going on in the country generally. I think we don't no one trusts our institutions anymore anyway. And I like, what if something is going on? Is the president not supposed to ask for the foreign country? Like, hey, there's corruption. What if there was actually corruption going on between a senior U.S. official or a former vice president and Ukrainian oligarchs? If there was something going on, is the president supposed to not ask for them to investigate on their end?
Right. I don't see what the big deal is.
Right. And as you pointed out the other day, Obama did something much worse for his political opponents. So I think
you should say what that is. You can't just.
He wiretapped Trump. I mean, he went after. So again, part of the origins of this whole Russian investigation was, I mean, we talked about the other day. There's this bogus dossier that's published based on, funded by opposition research. It's pushed into the FBI, blah, blah, blah. So they use this to get a FISA warrant. There's a 3-hop rule for the FISA warrant. So they can, if they tap someone close to Trump, they can tap anyone that person talks to and anyone that they talk to. So it's very easy to get to Trump. So he did all of this stuff, Obama. And it's interesting. I put on CNN this morning, dumb idea, but I put on CNN this morning because I was like, okay, they're going to be making a big deal about this. Of course they were. And they tried to play the what if Obama game. Well, what if Obama had done this? The Republicans wouldn't be dismissing it. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh. Obama he did a much worse version of this.
Right. And Mike, like, let's play that game. Even if the Republicans would have gone after it, I'm pretty sure the Democrats would have dismissed it because they did. So like
we know what happened. You didn't care, news media. You didn't care.
Right. And so there's a lot of this stuff being represented here. So for example, Adam Schiff stood up and said that the president of Ukraine brought up military assistance, and right after the president brought up his need for military assistance, and right after the president brought up investigation. So he's kind of acting like the mafia, like, oh, you need that? Well, do me a favor, right? First of all, he didn't bring up his need for military assistance. He said, thank you for your assistance. We're almost ready to do the next step. We're almost ready to order some more stuff, but I guess not yet, because he used the word almost. That's not like, we really need assistance, Mr. President. That's, thanks for your assistance in the past. We're almost ready to do the next step. Okay. And again, is Trump supposed, they're also, by the way, the Dems are also now saying, oh, this is a matter of national security. Nothing in this has to do with national security. Possibly Ukraine's national security, maybe, but not the U.S. national security. So I don't know. The interesting thing to me, Keri, here is really just, did Trump do something wrong here? I think that the truth is no one cares, because there is so much obvious double standards and dirty dealing and corruption by everyone happening right now that no one really cares if Trump, like, oh, did he ask the Ukraine to investigate his, political rival? Biden's not clearly the nominee as it is.
Biden's not his political rival. That's so weird that they think that's not even, he's not going to be the nominee.
I don't think so, but whatever. So like, he's not really a direct political rival yet anyway. And on top of that, it's not like he asked to investigate something that didn't happen, or can you dig up dirt on this guy, or can you open an investigation without any evidence? He was said, like, this thing happened. Like, it did happen. It is weird. Can you look at it? Like, there's connections to Russian or to Ukrainian oligarchs. Can you look at it? Okay. It's not a big deal. And I think what's happening, I think most of the American people just don't care. I think they just don't care about this crap. And the Democrats are going to probably impeach him over something that no one gives a crap about. No. I mean, you remember the open mic moment when Obama leaned in to Putin and said, I'll have a lot more flexibility after the election. Like, there's all this kind of crap happening all the time where there's like, oh, and also Trump brought this up. the Democrats also went to the Ukraine and asked them to continue the investigations that the Ukraine was doing that were related to the Mueller investigation. So like they've also like done the exact same thing. Hey, can you continue those investigations into the Mueller probe? Like the stuff that's related to the Mueller probe? Okay, sure, we're going to do that. But when Trump says, hey, can you investigate this very real conflict of interest that potentially could be bad, could be fine. Can you just investigate what's going on with your oligarchs? There's a lot of known corruption in the Ukraine, and it might be bleeding into our democracy. Can you look at it? Suddenly, that's treason. That's an impeachable offense. No one takes the mainstream media seriously anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous. And CNN's going to run this shit all day long. They're going to just run. Now the thing is Ukraine. They've switched.
Yeah. Well, so I think it's weird because I think it actually is, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, there's the NPCs, and I see some of them on my timeline. There's the people who believe the Russia stuff, and the people who are bought in and can't see the strings that are being pulled, and can't, they think Fox News is worse than CNN. Those people, right. Those people who can't, they're not awake. And right. Yes, those people are looking at this and going, oh, because they want anything and everything they can. They hate Trump so much that they're willing to take whatever crazy, breadcrumbs are thrown at them that never lead anywhere because there's nothing there.
I don't think it's good for Biden either.
No, it's not good for, but I think so those people exist. But I think my point is, I think that the majority of people are not those people. I think the majority of people are tired of this. And you've got a lot of, I'm not talking about just Trump voters. I'm not a Trump voter. I am sick to death of it. I'm tired of it. Yep. I've lost all respect for legacy media, all of it. And that goes for the New York Times. That goes for, it doesn't matter. There's no paper of record. There's nothing anymore. I lost all respect for it. I am to the point where the double standard is so obvious that I resent the Cathedral, and I resent the Democratic Party, which I've been a lifelong Democratic voter, but the audacity that they have, and the arrogance, and
they have some gall.
They have some gall, and the media, they have some gall, and it feels like it feels condescending. They think we're dumb, and that it makes me reflexively. If you're talking about sides, I feel like I'm aligned with Trump, even though I don't like Trump, because I'm certainly not aligned with them. Does that make sense?
No,
and
absolutely.
So they engender empathy for Trump.
Because they're unconscionable.
Yeah, because they are so bad. What they're doing is so bad.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so I don't know. I think all this stuff is them impeaching him is probably, I think my gut says it's not a good move for the Democrats. None of this is a good move for them. That they're so oblivious to the fact that people are sick to death of them and are sick of this crap. They don't realize they're pushing people towards him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I normally don't watch CNN. I just on a whim was like, I wonder what they're saying about all this. And the level of condescension and the assumption that everyone is an idiot is so transparent on CNN. They had Trump spoke live. They cut to a Trump reaction here, and he said something to the effect of he brought up this Democrats has visited the Ukraine previously and asked for some favors, and he said, well, if what I'm doing is an impeachable defense, well, then that's an impeachable offense by your logic, right? Those were his words. So what the Democrats did is an impeachable offense by your logic, right? That was the phrase. We cut back to CNN, and the very first thing the analyst at CNN does is she says, well, Trump just admitted that it is indeed an impeachable offense, and blah, 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 blah. It's an impeachable offense. Blah, blah. He said it was impeachable himself. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, we all just listened to the words that he said. You cut out by your own logic, which totally changes the meaning of that sentence. And with zero delay, spin right away. Right away.
Right away.
It's just, I mean, look, there's a lot I don't like about Trump either, but God damn it. The Cathedral is just so dishonest and vile. I don't know what to trust. I can't trust anything they say about this. Nothing.
No.
It's ridiculous.
And some of them believe their own nonsense.
I think most of them believe their own nonsense. I think they absolutely believe it. They absolutely believe their nonsense. And I don't, the other thing is I don't think, look, I don't understand Biden. I wouldn't want people talking about this now because no one knew about this crap with Biden. And now, you know what I'm hearing now? Now I'm hearing Republicans say, why don't we release the transcripts that Biden had with the Ukraine? And by the way, while you're at it, there's some China calls that he made would like to see the transcripts of too, because there's some potential nefarious activity there. That's not good for Biden. This is not good for Biden. And the people who are the people who would potentially ever vote for Trump, they don't give a crap about this. They're looking at this going, even if he crossed the line, we don't give a shit. You guys are so corrupt and horrible. We don't care. We just want him to get rid of you. I'm not actually upset about the political issue. I'm reminded how horrible the Cathedral is.
Yeah, that's my only feeling about this is I just have I have a lot of contempt for the news media. So I think we should title this Ukraine, I crane. We all crane for you have to come up with a rhyme.
Well, if that's the crappy title, you'll know where it came from, everyone.
I can't think of a good
I
rhyme.
think we should promise to not talk about politics tomorrow.
Please, let's not. And
Okay.
I have to have so much stuff to do, Carter. How are we going to do Daily Cafe tomorrow? We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
We can handle it. This is not very long.
Okay. I got to go. Bye, guys. I got to go to work. I got to get my comforter out of the laundromat.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Actually, I love when we get emails for ideas for stories to cover. So send them to speak@unsafespace.com. We're getting a few. It's great. If we haven't responded, that's just because I'm lame. But we will, or we'll cover it. So thanks for that. And see you all tomorrow. And Keri will be there tomorrow. She'll be able to make it.